here's the reading for page 311 to page 317. So we're in part 3, chapter 3, the age of Pericles. When the Athenians returned home after the Battle of Salamis, they faced a terrible sight. Persian troops had destroyed their shining city. Few homes were left standing. The city walls were in ruins. Even the temples had been burned to the ground. Yet the Athenians felt far from ruined. After all, their navy had defeated the powerful Persians, and they felt sure that in a democracy where free men ruled, great things were always possible. So the proud Athenians began the task of rebuilding their city. They were determined to make it more glorious than ever. In the years following the Persian Wars, the Athenians filled their city with gleaming marble temples and finely sculpted works of arts. Athenians became the cultural center of Greece. It teemed with great playwrights and fine actors. Greek tragedies and comedies were performed in huge outdoor theaters. People also flocked to Athens to discuss exciting ideas and witness the city-state's lively democracy. The Athenians accomplished so much following the Persian Wars that this time is often called the Golden Age of Athens. The period also goes by another name, the Age of Pericles. The age is named after a great statesman who led the Athenians for more than 30 years. His name is associated with the highest ideals and achievements of the ancient world. Pericles, the man who gave his name to an age. Pericles led Athens during one of the most inventive and creative periods in history. He came from two of the oldest and noblest families of Athens. And there's an outdoor theater right there. His mother was a niece of the great lawgiver Cleisthenes, who had given Athens its first democratic constitution. Pericles had been educated by some of the leading philosophers of his day. Yet despite his aristocratic background, his political sympathies lay with the demos, the common people of Athens. He was determined to continue the reforms of his great uncle and serve his city-state by making it more democratic than ever. His belief that the people should rule themselves guided his career. A sober, serious man, Pericles had a long, pointed face that earned him the unflattering nickname Onion Head. His critics accused him of being cold and conceited. They said that he allied himself with the people only to get power. To his admirers, however, Pericles was a brilliant man with a clear vision for the polis. He did not speak in public often, but when he did, the Athenians listened carefully. Almost every year from 461 BC until his death in 429 BC, they elected him to be one of their chief leaders. It was Pericles who inspired Athenians to rebuild their city after the devastating Persian Wars. Under his leadership, the Athenians continued to strengthen their navy. They built 2 long stone walls protecting the route between the city and its harbor, Piraeus, so that even in wartime, the city would be able to get food and supplies by sea. Pericles supported the work of the Athenian writers, artists, architects, and thinkers. He wanted Athens to be a school for Greece, where people could create great works of art and search for truth. Perhaps most important under Pericles, more and more men gained rights and had a chance to share in government. After their stunning victory against the Persians, the city's rowers won the rights they sought. Pericles went further to guarantee common people their rights. Before the time of Pericles, public officials were never paid for their work. This made it hard for people without much money to serve in office. But Pericles established salaries for civic positions so that not just the rich could serve. He worked to change the laws so that the common people were allowed to serve in any public office. Even under even under Pericles, democracy was not complete in Athens. For one thing, women and slaves could never become citizens, and thus weren't allowed to take part in the running of the polis. Still, in a time when many people in other lands were under the stern rule of a king or emperor, Athens stood out. Under the guidance of Pericles, Athens was the most advanced democracy the ancient world had known. Athenian democracy in action. How did democracy work in ancient Athens? Let's imagine an Athenian citizen, Simon, and spend some time with him. Simon isn't a wealthy man. He's a metal worker by trade with a small shop in Athens. He isn't the best metal worker in Athens, but he has enough work to make a decent living. Simon is proud of his work, and he's even prouder of his polis. Simon is a citizen of Athens, which means he is a free male age 18 or over and was born to Athenian parents. He has served in the Athenian army, and like all citizens, he serves in the assembly. The assembly meets about 40 times a year. The meetings are held outdoors and begin very early in the morning. All citizens, especially those living in the city itself, are expected to be there. Since Simon lives in the city, he can easily get to the meetings of the assembly. It is not so easy, however, for citizens who live in the country. They may have to travel miles to get to the meetings, so they often miss them. And if they arrive late, they may not get in. The Athenian assembly has only 6,000 seats and closes when it's full. The assembly is a powerful branch of the Athenian government. Here, the people debate issues and make decisions. To be taken seriously at the assembly, one must be a good public speaker. A speaker who can sway the opinions of the assembly is a man to be reckoned with. Pericles, for example, commands much respect because he can state his views so eloquently. When a citizen addresses the assembly, Simon and his friends are a feisty audience. When they don't like a speaker, they boo and hiss. They laugh at anyone who makes mistakes in speaking. If a speaker is really bad, the assembly may even make him pay a fine. Who is he to waste their time? When the time comes to vote on an issue, Simon votes by raising his hand. A majority of votes decides any question. And like all good Athenians, Simon obeys the decision of the majority. He obeys it even when he doesn't agree with it. At assembly meetings, even though Simon is often loud and noisy, he takes the voting. And check out the pictures while you're on these pages. So Simon takes the voting seriously, for he knows that it often decides the fate of Athens. Simon usually enjoys the assembly meetings. Politics is his favorite pastime. He talks about politics, he argues about politics, and sometimes he even fights about politics. The Council of Athens is another body in which Simon can serve. Members of the council are chosen by lot. Every year, the names of 500 citizens are drawn from a large pot, and those in these 500 serve on the council for a year. They carry on the day-to-day business of Athens, decide what things will be discussed at the next assembly meeting, and write laws on which the assembly will vote. There are other ways in which Simon can serve Athens. The polis needs guards and market inspectors. It needs officials of all kinds. Someone must be in charge of the harbor, and someone must count the tax money. Someone must check the food supplies, and someone must run the warehouses. The officials who do these jobs are chosen from the assembly by lots, and they perform their duties for 1 year. It may seem strange that the Athenians were willing to fill so many important jobs by drawing lots, but the lottery system gave every citizen an equal chance to serve Athens in nearly every part of government. In that sense, it was a very democratic approach to running their city-state. It may also strike us strange that people who served in the assembly, council, and other roles did not need to have any experience. A street cleaner or a barber might be chosen over a man with a lengthy or scholarly knowledge. But this seemed perfectly reasonable to the Athenians. Pericles himself said that the simplest craftsman could understand the responsibilities of citizenship. The 10 generals. These are some jobs in Athenian government that are not left to chance. The chief officials of the city-state are called the 10 generals. The 10 generals command the army and navy. They are responsible for defending Athens. They plan strategy in times of conflict and lead the troops in battle. The 10 generals are more than military leaders. They are also in charge of carrying out the decisions of the assembly and council. They meet with foreign ambassadors and oversee the city-state's activities, such as the repair of ships and collection of taxes. All this takes great skill and experience, which is why Athens doesn't choose generals the way it chooses council members. Rather than drawing the names of the generals by chance, the assembly elects them. Year after year, Simon and his fellow citizens elect Pericles as one of the 10 generals. Simon isn't afraid of the 10 generals because they hold their offices at the pleasure of the people. They must obey the assembly. If the assembly votes for war, the generals have to make war, even if they think the assembly is wrong. In such matters, Simon's vote counts just as much as a general's vote. When a general loses too many battles, the assembly votes on what to do. It may decide to fine the general or even send him into exile. For the most part, Simon and the other citizens admire the 10 generals. In the assembly, they always give the generals a chance to speak and be heard. That's how Pericles leads Athens. He doesn't have any special powers. He can't order the citizens to obey him. But as one of the best speakers in the polis, he always makes a forceful case at assembly meetings, telling the citizens what he thinks is best for Athens. And we'll do part 2 on another recording. So we're going to stop this recording and start another one to finish up the reading for pages 311 to 317.